Just off the beach to the west of the village lies an island, and on it is a vast temple with many bells, said the woman. The boy noticed that she was dressed strangely and had a veil covering her head. He had never seen her before. Have you ever visited the temple? She asked. Go there and tell me what you think of it. Seduced by the woman's beauty, the boy went to the place she had indicated. He sat down on the beach and stared at the horizon, but he only saw what he always saw, blue sky and ocean. Disappointed, he walked to a nearby fishing village and asked if anyone knew about the island and a temple. Oh, that was many years ago, when my great-grandparents were alive, said an old fisherman. There was an earthquake and the island was swallowed up by the sea. But although we can no longer see the island, we can still hear the temple bells when the ocean sets them swinging down below. The boy had went back to the beach and tried to hear the bells. He spent the whole afternoon there, but all he heard was the noise of waves and the cries of the seagulls. When night fell, his parents came looking for him. The following morning he went back to the beach. He could not believe that such a beautiful woman had lied to him. If she ever returned, he could tell her that although he had not seen the island, he had heard the temple bells set ringing by the motion of the waves. Many months passed. The woman did not return, and the boy forgot all about her. Now he was convinced that he needed to discover the riches and treasures in this submerged temple. If he could hear the bells, he would be able to locate it and salvage the treasure hidden below. He lost interest in school and even in his friends. He became the butt of all other children's jokes. They used to say, he's not like us. He prefers to sit and look at the sea because he's afraid of being beaten in our games. And they all laughed to see the boy sitting on the shore, although he still could not hear the old temple bells ringing. The boy learned about other things. He began to realize that he had grown so used to the sound of the waves, he was no longer distracted by them. Soon after that, he was used to the cries of the seagulls, the buzzing of the bees, and the wind blowing amongst the palm trees. 6 months after his first conversation with the woman, the boy could sit there oblivious to all of the noises, but he could still not hear the bells from the drowned temple. Fishermen came and talked to him, insisting they had heard the bells, but the boy never did. Some time later, however, the fishermen changed their mind and their tune. You spent far too much thinking about bells beneath the sea. Forget about them and go back to playing with your friends. Perhaps it's only fishermen who could hear them. After almost a year, the boy thought perhaps they're right. I would do better to grow up and become a fisherman and come down to this beach every morning, because I've come to love it here. And he thought too, perhaps it had just been another legend, and the bells are all shattered during the earthquake and never rung out since. That afternoon he decided to go back home. He walked down to the ocean to say goodbye. He looked once more at the neutral world around him, and because he was no longer concerned about the bells, he could again smile at the beauty of the seagulls' cries and the roar of the sea, and the wind blowing in the palm trees. Far off he heard the sound of his friends playing. He felt glad to think that he would soon resume his childhood games. The boy was happy, and only as a child can. He felt grateful for being alive. He was sure that he had not wasted his time, for that he learned to contemplate nature and to respect it. Then, because he was listening to the sea, the seagulls, the wind in the palm trees, and the voice of his friends playing, he also heard the first bell, and then another, and another, until, to his great joy, all the bells in the drowned temple were ringing. Years later, when he had grown to man, when he was a grown man, He returned to the village and to the beach of his childhood. He no longer dreamed of finding treasure at the bottom of the sea. Perhaps that had all been a product of his imagination. And he never really heard the submerging bells ringing out on one lost childhood afternoon. Even so, he decided to walk for a bit along the beach to listen to the noise of the wind and the cries of the seagulls. Imagine, to his surprise, when they're on the beach, he saw the woman who had first spoken to him about the island and its temple. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I was waiting for you," she replied. He noticed that despite the passing years, the woman looked exactly the same. The veil hiding her hair had not faded with time. She handed him a blue notebook full of blank pages. "Write, a warrior of the light values a child's eyes because they are able to look at the world without bitterness. When he wants to find out if the person inside him is worthy of his trust, he tries to see him as a child would." "What is a warrior of the light?" "You already know that," she replied with a smile. "He is someone capable of understanding the miracle of life, of fighting to the last for something he believes in, and of hearing the bells the waves set ringing on the seabed." He had never thought of himself as a warrior of the light. The woman seemed to read his thoughts. Everyone is capable of these things. And though no one thinks of himself as a warrior of the light, we all are. He looked at the blank pages in the notebook. The woman smiled again. "Write about the warrior," she said.